Imagine you're trapped in a place where time stands still for you. Everything around you remains unchanged, but thousands of years pass on Earth in the blink of an eye. This is what happens in today's story, a world where the game of time changes everything. An archaeologist named Hopper, while exploring a forest, comes across a strange cave that wasn't covered by grass or vegetation. Curious, he walks up to its entrance. Upon arrival, he sees a human figure standing upright inside the cave. He calls out several times but gets no response. Realizing something was wrong, Hopper quickly returns home with his dog. After saying goodbye to his student and packing his things, he sets off again for the forest. He first secures ropes at the cave entrance for safety, and then proceeds inside with his dog. But as soon as they reach the entrance, the dog refuses to go any further. Forced to go alone, Hopper confirms the man is still standing motionless. He decides to investigate inside. A few steps in, Hopper notices the air in front of him shimmer strangely, as if an invisible wall separates the cave from the outside world. This strange phenomenon fuels his curiosity, and without hesitation he ventures deeper. As he gets closer to the man, he notices the body slowly starting to move. The moment Hopper crosses the invisible wall, the man suddenly comes to life, as if everything had returned to normal. Hopper becomes even more confused and anxious. The man was armed, so Hopper doesn't dare speak and simply watches silently. The man eventually vanishes. Stranger still, the outside light begins flickering without any reason, as if something was controlling it. Then a deep roar echoes from within the cave, freezing Hopper in fear. It becomes hard for him to even breathe. Right after the roar, he hears human screams. Realizing this place is extremely dangerous, he decides to run without looking back. But when he emerges from the cave, he discovers the outside world has completely changed, as if he's arrived in the future. Hopper had only been in the cave for a few minutes, but when he stepped out, day had turned into night. Even stranger, the dog that had stayed at the entrance was gone. The only small relief was that his car was still there, but when he approached, he found it covered in thick bushes and unable to start. At first, Hopper thought it was a prank, but then he noticed his ID card had turned yellow from oxidation. Realizing this was serious, he didn't have time to think. His only focus was to escape the strange and terrifying place. Suddenly, he noticed another vehicle parked nearby. He shouted loudly, but got no response. Hoping to salvage a battery for his car, he checked the vehicle, only to find it had been abandoned for years. Hopper clearly remembered there was no car here when he first arrived. As he pondered this, he saw an old backpack inside the vehicle. It belonged to his student, Taylor. Hopper shouted for Taylor, but got no reply. Now he was truly alarmed. The only possibility was that Taylor had entered the cave. To ensure his student's safety, Hopper decides to return to the cave. What he doesn't realize is that 3 full days had passed outside when he first crossed the invisible wall. When Hopper disappeared, Taylor understood something had gone wrong. He gathered 4 friends and set out into the mountains to search for Hopper. They couldn't find Hopper's car, but did come across an abandoned bus with a childhood photo of Hopper's family inside. Taylor assumed Hopper had come here searching for his mysteriously vanished family. They hadn't yet found any sign of him. While thinking this through, Furby, one of the friends, discovered an old rope behind the bus. Following it led them to an empty cave. The rope ended at a cliff edge, with no clear idea of what lay below. Uncertain if Hopper was down there, 4 members decided to descend. Furby, being naturally fearful, chose to stay outside. He didn't know that this would become the biggest mistake of his life. The other 4 began descending using the rope and crossed the same invisible wall as Hopper had. But since it caused no obvious disturbance, they ignored it, assuming it was natural. Once at the bottom, Jackie and Weaves excitedly planned their exploration. But soon, a loud roar echoed from deep inside the cave. At first curious, their interest turned to fear when they heard a human scream. They realized the cave was not safe. Jackie decided they should return. But as they climbed, the rope suddenly snapped, and she fell, injuring her leg. Taylor tried to help her but lost balance and injured his hand. The bigger concern was, why had the rope snapped? Even a second rope broke with just a light tug. Taylor initially thought Furby was playing a prank and angrily tried to contact him via radio, but got no response. Then they heard something crash nearby, freezing them in place. Taylor composed himself and tried contacting Furby again. To his shock, he heard his own voice echoing back from inside the tunnel. Assuming it was a hallucination, he tried again. This time, Furby's voice came through, screaming for help. The group grew even more anxious. They decided to find Furby. Passing through an open area, they noticed light near the entrance fluctuating unnaturally. Kara spotted something and climbed a rock. There, she found a torn rope. Looking down, she was horrified to see Furby's lifeless body below. The group was devastated. When Taylor saw the rope, he suspected someone had cut it deliberately. But that made no sense. Furby was too scared to go down alone. Confused, Taylor checked Furby's recording device, which was still on. They decided to watch the footage for answers, but the more they watched, the more confused they became. The recordings showed that, while only hours had passed for the group, 7 days had passed for Furby. During this time, Furby found Hopper's Jeep and an emergency rope at the mountain's base. Inside an abandoned bus, Furby discovered an ancient medieval journal. It mentioned a Spanish queen who sent an expedition to find the Fountain of Youth to save her husband's life. The explorers were attacked by cave-dwelling natives. Some barely escaped. An entire army vanished mysteriously. But Furby's discoveries didn't end there. That same evening, he found another journal. It belonged to Hopper's father. The shocking truth emerged. Hopper's parents had also come searching for the Fountain of Youth, hoping to save their sick daughter. The footage showed a time-lapse of Furby's 7th day. His food had run out. No sign of the 4 friends. He assumed they had died. Unable to drive Taylor's manual car or walk thousands of kilometers, he pinned his hopes on Hopper's car keys. Preparing to descend and retrieve Hopper's body, the entrance light suddenly flared. Just as the group watched from below, Furby's rope snapped, and he fell. What they saw next was too horrifying to watch. The group turned off the recording. But now, even more questions had emerged.